All right, welcome everybody. My name is Stacy the Shad. I'm here from Connecticut River Conservancy. So excited to welcome you all to LiveStream. This is a very special rendition of LiveStream. It's for the kids and all of us, I like to say, and we're excited to have so many people joining us of all ages. You're in for a real treat, and I will introduce our special guests shortly. Just want to tell you a little bit more about LiveStream and take care of some housekeeping, and then we'll get on our way. So LiveStream, if you're new, is our webinar series that we run every other week. We've been running it since spring, and it's really meant to bring our work and our rivers right to you wherever you are in this time where it's so challenging to be together personally. So we really welcome you being here with us today. We have one more live stream scheduled this month. It's on the topic of a new magazine called Estuary, which is a celebration of the Connecticut River. So that's on August 19th. And I'll be sharing details of upcoming events in a follow-up email that I'll be sending out after this series. A couple of things. You probably have noticed that your video and microphone are off, but we really welcome your questions. And take a minute and find the Q&A box, which will probably be on the bottom of your screen if you're on a computer, and it may be on the top of your screen or the side if you're on a phone. Please start adding questions anytime you have them, and there'll be great opportunity for all of our guests to answer your questions later on. If you need any technical help, you can also throw that in the Q&A. We have a Leaky behind the scenes helping us out. I'm sure all the kids out there know really well how to use Zoom by now, and hopefully the adults too. But if you do have trouble and you need a last-minute phone call, dial 413-772-2020, extension 207, and Leaky will help you out. So without further ado, on to today's presentation. Our presenter from CRC is Sarah Repair. She is CRC's membership coordinator and data wrangler. That means she loves messing with data. She loves science, growing food, being outside, going on adventures. And she's going to be your guide today. We'll also be joined by members of an awesome organization from New Haven, Connecticut called Lots of Fish. And they do cool art projects out in the community, helping to educate folks about water pollution. So you'll get to hear from some of the youth members, Jordan, Jahira, and Trinity, as well as the adult educators and artists, Jen and Joanne. So I'd like to turn this over to Sarah, who will lead us down the river and into the world of fish migration. Have a great time, everyone.
Thanks, Stacy. Hey, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I work with the Connecticut River Conservancy, or CRC, and I'm just so excited to share this time with you today. So thanks so much for tuning in. If you don't have anything handy, I would recommend grabbing something to draw on and something to draw with for later on in the presentation. But today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, rivers. So let's talk about it together. I wonder, have you ever been to a river? If you have, do you have any favorite river activities? This is a cool video of the Fort River, close to my home in Amherst, Massachusetts. And one of my favorite things to do is go walking along the riverbank when I can do so with my family, and we see frogs and fish, and I just think it's a whole lot of fun. And at the Connecticut River Conservancy, or CRC, we work on a big river called the Connecticut River. And we also work on all of its tributaries. And tributaries are smaller rivers that flow into a larger river. And in our case, that larger river is the Connecticut River. And when I like to think about a river and its tributaries, I kind of like to think about a bug, like this caterpillar, with the big river being the body of the bug, and then all the little tributaries are the little legs that carry that big bug body around. And the Connecticut River caterpillar has over 100 little bug legs that fill it with water each and every day. And one of them is the Fort River near my home. Did you know that people live all up and down the Connecticut River and all of its tributaries? I wonder if that's where you live too. But no matter what part of this bug we live on, I'm here to tell you that we're not here alone. There are so many critters that live here with us in and around the river. Have you seen any? I wonder what you might have seen. Maybe an eagle or a bear or a raccoon, maybe a fish. You know, these rivers that surround us have been home to people and critters for tens of thousands of years. And the story of how some of those critters get here year after year after year is one of the oldest stories that the river has to tell us. And that's the story we're going to learn a little bit about today. But to understand this story, we need to understand something called migration. Migration is a word that scientists use to describe when a living thing moves from one place to another place. You know, some living things migrate because their body tells them that they have to move in order for their body to do something that it needs to do. And if you wanted to think about what this might look like for humans, we could pretend that the place where you are today, maybe your house or an apartment, library, or a park, is the entire world. And if where you are today was like the whole world, we could say that you might migrate to the kitchen when your body told you it was time to eat, or you might migrate to the place where you sleep when your body told you it needed rest. But of course, for most of us, that doesn't mean we move too far, and many of us can eat and sleep in more than one place. But for some people, migrating long distances to find food or a safe place to live with their families is happening right this very moment in different parts of the world, and it has been for a very long time. And for the animals and the insects and all the non-human living things that migrate, that's exactly how the story goes. When their body tells them it's time to move, they migrate from one part of their world to another. And sometimes it's to eat, sometimes it's to avoid getting eaten, sometimes it's to fall in love, and sometimes it's to have babies. Sometimes they migrate short distances, and sometimes it's a really long distance. And you might have heard that birds and butterflies migrate. But did you know that fish migrate too? There are a lot of fish around the world that migrate when their bodies tell them it's time to get moving. We call fish that migrate or move from one place to another place diadromous fish. Can you say that with me? Diadromous. And scientists identify two types of diadromous or migratory fish based on where they move from and where they're moving to. You ready? Anadromous fish are fish that migrate from the salty waters of the ocean into the sweet, fresh waters of rivers. Can you say anadromous with me? Anadromous. And catadromous fish, well, they do the opposite. They're fish that migrate from the sweet, fresh waters of rivers into the salty, salty oceans. Can you say catadromous with me? Catadromous. And most fish migrate towards what scientists would call a preferential reproductive habitat to spawn, which is just a really fancy way to say that it's a really nice place to have fish babies. And there are so many different kinds of migratory fish in the world, even here in the Connecticut River and its tributaries. Can you believe that we have both anadromous and catadromous fish here? And there's one thing that all migratory fish have in common. They share a story that's older than all of us, and it's one of the river's oldest tales. And the rivers that we see today have seen thousands of years of fish migrating up and down these river highways to have generation after generation of fish babies. And many of these fish babies will grow up and migrate in the same way their parents did, and their grandparents before them, and their great-grandparents before them. But fish don't talk, right? Not that we know about anyway, so how do they know where to go or when to go? Well, scientists today believe that it all happens inside their little fishy bodies. It's kind of like when your body releases chemicals that tell you when you're hungry or when you're sleeping. And this internal programming, this chemistry that goes on inside has been passed down from their fishy ancestors. And they're literally designed to follow in the finprints of the fish that came before them. So how about we use our imaginations to think about what the story might be like of a little anadromous fish here in the Connecticut River, and what they might see on their great epic journey of migration. And I know I can't see you, but to get ready, how about all of us put on our best fishy face, and we'll get started. So this is our little fish, and we'll call him Chad. Chad is a shad. He's an American shad, and he's been programmed to travel back to the place where he was born to spawn or to have fish babies. Chad's migrating from the Atlantic Ocean and following in the finprints of his ancestors, making his way for hundreds of miles through the salty ocean, all the way to the mouth of the Connecticut River, down in Connecticut and Long Island Sound. You know, he doesn't eat or stop until he gets to the place where he's gonna have fish babies. He can swim for hundreds of miles with no food and no pit stops. What do you think Chad's gonna find when he gets to the Connecticut River? Well, you know, a whole lot of folks like CRC have been working very hard for a very long time to make sure that Chad finds a clean, healthy, free-flowing Connecticut River, which makes it easy on our friend as he migrates. But even with all the hard work of people like you and me, there's still some dangers that Chad can face when he's traveling up the river. And one of the dangers to our fishy friend are natural predators, bigger fish, bigger animals, bigger birds that also live here and think that fish like Chad are just delicious. And without safe places in the rivers and tributaries to hide, Chad might be someone's dinner. But luckily for today, let's pretend that Chad found a great big pile of branches and river plants to hide in. He's safe from that giant eagle that just swooped overhead. Oh boy, another danger up ahead. Looks like there's a wall in the middle of the river. Dams are big walls that hold water in place that have been built up and down the Connecticut River and in many rivers across the world to help humans control where and when the water flows. But fish can't travel like people do, right? They need water moving freely so they can swim through it. So what's a Chad to do? Well, luckily, people like CRC are taking down dams every year that are no longer being used and that are blocking fish like Chad from migrating. And luckily, because of the work of groups like CRC and so many others, a lot of the dams that are still standing in the Connecticut River and its tributaries have something called a fishway or a fish ladder, or these little trails that go through the water that are specifically designed to help fish move around a dam. And you know, in many places, you can actually visit these fishways and you can wave to our little fishy friends as they're migrating on through. So let's say that Chad got lucky and the big wall that he sees is a dam with a fish ladder, and he can follow that ladder and get right on through. Almost there, Chad. But wait, what's that up ahead? Oh man, this river's been trashed. Every year, you know, CRC and a lot of other groups head out to the river and the tributaries and they haul thousands of pounds of trash out of the rivers. But you know, there's still a whole lot of work to do. And it looks like poor Chad found a trash spot in the river. Well, he better think quickly if he's gonna get through and keep on migrating. Maybe a deep dive, swerving around those old bottles. We're getting through. Looks like we finally reached the place where the Connecticut River meets the calm, rocky bottom tributary that Chad was born in. Time to cruise on down those calm waters and get to having those fish babies. You know, there are a lot of different ways to have babies in the animal world. Shad and some other kinds of fish have babies when a female lays eggs in the water, sometimes over 100,000 at a time. And then a male releases a different kind of substance into the water to fertilize the eggs. And as those eggs float down the river highway in the current, they develop and they grow and they hatch just a few days later, ready to take that river back on out to the ocean and make their way on their own journey. So let's hope that other fish were able to get through all that, the trash and the dams and avoid being eaten and make it back to that sweet little place where Chad made it to. And let's say that Chad was able to find a place in his home tributary where a female shad had already laid her eggs and he could finish his migratory journey. Well, Chad finished his migration, but now it's up to the next generation of fishies to come back when their body's ready and do it all over again. What do you think they'll find when they get to the Connecticut River? That's for our next story. If people like you and I keep working hard to keep rivers clean and water flowing freely, these little fishy friends will keep coming back just as they have been for thousands of years. And that's exactly what we here at CRC love to do. So now that we know the story of migration here in the Connecticut River and all of its tributaries, let's check in with some friends to learn more about the migratory fish that we have right here. You know, today we're really lucky to be joined by an official river keeper and fish protector, CRC's river steward for New Hampshire and Vermont, Ms. Kathy Erfer. Do you have questions about migratory fish for Ms. Kathy? If you do, please be sure to write them in the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen. But in the meantime, while you get your questions together, here's a few fun fish facts from our official river fish correspondent, Kira.
Hello, my name is Kira. I have some fish things to tell you. Did you know that the longest American eel is 59 inches tall? That's taller than me. They migrate to the ocean where they have eel babies, where they were born in the South Atlantic Sea. Does that sound fishy to you? Did you know that the female American shad are bigger than the male? Also, they migrate from rivers from Florida to Canada. Did you know that sea lamprey have 11 to 12 rows of teeth, and that their ancestors came before the dinosaurs, and that they begin and end their lives in fresh water? What do you call a fish with no eye? Bye.
Thanks, Kira. What awesome fish facts. You know, I see that we have a couple questions here in the Q&A box. So now it's time to introduce our very own river keeper and resident fish enthusiast, Miss Kathy Earther. Thanks for being here with us, Kathy.
Hey, hi everybody, nice to see you.
We've got a couple of great questions coming in on the chat. Nancy asks, how many shad go up the river each year?
I was just about to open up a document for how many shad went up this year. If you give me 1 second, I'll do as quickly as I can. When, you know, hundreds of years ago, before the dams were built in the river and before we started kind of herding the fish migration, there were millions of shad, millions and millions of shad. And now we've been working on trying to restore the American shad population and get more of them to come up. So this year we had about we had about 368,000 shad come up the river. Now that may seem like a lot, but compared to millions and millions, it's not. And so we are still trying to work to get more and more shad to come.
Oh, wow, that does sound like a lot. Well, I know that you, I know that you're a big part of CRC's work to protect a lot of migratory fish here in the Connecticut River, not just shad. Do you know how many kinds of fish are in the river? That's a question from Lisa and for me. I think that's a great one.
There are lots and lots of different kinds of fish in the river, but there are fish we call resident fish who live in the river year round. And then there are the migratory fish. The migratory fish, we have about 5. We have sea lamprey, American eels, sturgeons, American shad, and then blueback herring and alewife, who kind of are in the same family. So there's just a handful of fish that make an epic journey, either from living in the river out into the ocean to have their babies, or where they live in the ocean most of their life and they swim up the river to have their baby in a safer place.
Oh, neat. Do fish always migrate just to have fishy babies? Or do they migrate for other reasons?
Sometimes they migrate for food. And there are some mysteries out there, not so much in our river, but there are certain sharks and other fish that will migrate, and we don't even understand why necessarily. So there's all kinds of different reasons why fish might migrate.
How do they know when to migrate?
Often there's a trigger, some sort of chemical thing in the water or a temperature change that will tell them now's the time to go. For a lot of the fish that come up the Connecticut River, my little girl here is sitting next to me, which is why it looks so jumbly. But for a lot of the fish that come up the Connecticut River, you think when there's snow and ice in the wintertime and then it melts in the spring, all of that water goes down the river and out into the ocean. And so there's chemicals and smells and things in that water that help the fish know where the mouth of the river is And then as the temperature gets warmer and warmer over the spring, that causes the fish to get excited and they start to move up the river. So they get triggered both by things they can smell in the water and by the temperature of the water. And then they know when and where to go because of that.
That's really neat. So the water temperature, especially in the winter here, and snow and ice are really important for these migratory fish, maybe almost just as much as keeping the rivers free flowing and clean.
Yeah, and in fact, when we think of what is polluting a waterway, we consider temperature as kind of an issue, right? So if you think about what water quality means, it can talk about chemicals, it can talk about the amount of oxygen in the water that the fish need, but it can also talk about temperature. And if the water gets too hot, that's bad for the fish as well.
Oh, wow. Would we see a difference in the fish that are coming in our river if the water gets warmer?
With climate change and the general temperature going up, it may be that fish start to change what rivers they go into. So we used to have these big fish called Atlantic salmon, and we were kind of the southern edge. We were kind of the southern edge of where the Atlantic salmon would migrate up to. And so it may be that as our river gets hotter and the colder rivers like up in Maine remain a little cooler, close your mouth, the Atlantic salmon might like to go up further north instead. So it may make it, climate change may have an effect on where the fish decide to migrate.
Oh, wow. We have another question from Nancy, and she asks, if there are more fish, does that mean that more birds come to the river too? It's a great question. Do the fish bring other plants and animals with them when they migrate?
Yeah, they do. As we get more fish. So we talked to someone just recently who lives along the river here in New Hampshire, and he was remembering when he was a little kid how there were no birds. There were very few. I'm going to shut my video off for a minute. There were very few birds, and as we've gotten stronger fish populations and the water has gotten cleaner, then we've gotten more birds, more eagles and things like that.
Oh, wow. So healthy rivers, and they bring migratory fish, and they also bring other species. Sounds like they're pretty important too.
Yeah, all those animals, like our ecosystems, everything's connected. So if you help one thing, you often can help other things as well.
Oh, neat. Well, it looks like we've got time for a couple more questions. If anybody else has questions, go ahead and type them in the QA box. But do you have a favorite migratory fish, Kathy? That's my question. Which one's your favorite?
I sure do. My favorite is the sea lamprey, right, Callie? I always talk about sea lampreys. They have they look long like a snake. They have round, let me talk. They have round sucker teeth, and they make really nice nests. They come into the rivers and they turn rocks and make a round nest, and they dig to the bottom where it's sandy, and they build a little dam to catch their babies. They are my favorite. They look crazy cool and a little scary, but they're my favorite.
I really like sea lamprey too. Kira had some fun facts for us about sea lamprey and all their teeth. So they migrate here to have babies, but they start their lives here too, right? They live here for a couple years before they head out to the oceans, or do they head out like American shad right when they're just born?
No, the sea lampreys stick around for a while. So they're born here and they live in the rivers in the sediment for sometimes 7 up to maybe 20 years, depending. And then there's a point at which they think, like a teenager or a young adult, they're like, I'm ready to move out now. And then they head on down the river and go out to the ocean. And they live as adults in the ocean for a while until they're ready to have their own babies. And when they come up the river, they are dying. They are coming to have their babies, and then they die, which seems very dramatic to me. But it's really important When they come up the river, they bring nutrients from the ocean back up into the rivers that support all of the fish that live in the river.
Oh, wow. That's an epic journey for sure. A really long one. Really long one. Well, it looks like, Kathy, we have time for one more question. And I wonder if it might be cool to share with everybody where they can go to see migratory fish. I mean, if folks don't live by a fish ladder, or maybe they don't live by a river at all, where can they go to see these fish?
Yeah, if you don't live by a river, hey, Callie, sorry. There are Fishways in Holyoke and Bellows Falls. And Bellows Falls is open right now on the weekends. That's Bellows Falls, Vermont. So it might be a trip. Sometimes you can go and see different kinds of fish at a local aquarium. But other than that, I think your best bet would be look in the internet for videos of migratory fish, and you may learn something there as well.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Kathy. Thanks for being with us. And it's really, really cool to learn about the fish that we have migrating so close to our homes. And now I am so excited to pass the baton to some friends of ours at Lots of Fish to finish out our presentation for you today. Lots of Fish is a really wonderful and vibrant environmental education and art group. They're doing some really incredible work down at the mouth of the mighty Connecticut River to protect fish and keep water clean and keep our cities clean as well. So Jordan, Jahira, Trinity, Jen, Joanna, over to you.
Hi everybody, my name's Jordan. This is a Lots of Fish organization for the summer. Trinity and Yara and me and Joanne. Yes. What is Lots of Fish? Lots of Fish is a water education program that helps towns reduce water pollution through art, music, and dance. That's good. We paint a lot. We also make music, games, and create dances to inspire others to help keep our waterways clean too.
Lots of Fish works with young people of all ages to make art to keep our help keep our waterways clean. Next. Here's a couple of our banners that we painted, and also a storm drain on your right, and a mural on the wall too, just to spread awareness with art.
So that's runoff art. So we have a storm part. I'm Joanne, and I'm the founder of Lots of Fish. And it was an idea I had to use art because it makes it more interesting to find out about water pollution, the subject that's like kind of not very interesting and kind of stinky. But if you put art around it, maybe people will listen and learn more. It might be nicer. So this part of our project we call runoff art. And runoff art comes from working with and teaching about stormwater pollution, which is pollution that comes from stormwater. So what's stormwater? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's water that comes from the sky, either in snow or rain, and falls to the ground. And sometimes it gets absorbed when we like to have it absorbed into nature and into the ground. And the other parts of it off of our roofs and driveways and streets, and even when there's too much, it goes off of the lawns and into the streets. And where does it go from there? It goes to the storm drains. So all that pathway that the storm water takes, it carries litter and fertilizer or oil that's on the ground and brings it all to the storm drain. And next. So here you see all the storm water bringing all this litter to the storm drain. So the drain is that grid on the side of the street that we think sometimes, some people think it's to clean the streets with. That's what it's supposed to do. But we would like to keep the litter and pollution out of the storm drain because it goes to the rivers and to the oceans. So we create runoff art. So it goes along with stormwater runoff to teach people how to keep stormwater free of litter and keep the rivers clean. So you want to do this?
Trinity. Our runoff art projects teaches people, you know, also to like, especially our community, to make sure that you're not littering and just to put everything in the trash, and to help with art as well. So when we paint these storm drains, it's just to educate people as well, you know, to help them understand if they're not really aware that littering on the storm drain can affect our fishes and, you know, everything in the ocean too.
Hi, I'm Jen. I'm one of the teachers with Lots of Fish. Have you ever heard of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Well, what happens to litter when it washes down the storm drain is it gets pushed into the rivers, and then the rivers bring all that litter and plastic and garbage out to the ocean. The ocean currents pick up that trash and carry it all around the whole planet. But what happens is the garbage starts to collect in different spots, and it creates an island. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is the largest one in the world. It's twice as big as the state of Texas. Here we have a picture of garbage that was collected from the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Can you see things in there? There's ropes, there's cans, there's lots of plastic. So not only are these garbage patches ugly, they're dangerous. Look at what can happen when animals try to eat the plastic, or they get caught in it too. You see the little baby turtle? That plastic's not good for him. And the seal up in the corner has got a rope caught around its neck. And it looks like the bird on the bottom is in a plastic bag. Uh-oh. We don't want this to happen anymore. Thanks.
You wouldn't put litter in your mouth, so would you put it in a river's mouth? I don't think so. So as you see, that was one piece of art around a storm drain, and here's another one. A lot of them have messages like only rain in the drain. Why would we put only rain in the drain? Probably because that's all that's supposed to go in the drain. It's just rain, not even leaves. It really should be only rain in the drain. And that's something that you could learn by walking down a street and seeing a piece of art that tells you. Do you think you'd remember it more if you've seen it in art? I think I would.
Painting pictures on storm drains tells people to not throw trash cans or anything other than water on the storm drain. So it's beautiful and you wouldn't want to ruin it. Will you pick up litter the next time you see trash on the storm drain?
You can answer it. They're answering. Yeah.
Rain barrels collect. Sorry. Rain barrels collect rain from your roof so you can store it for later. You could use it to water your lawn, water your flowers, or even wash your cars. Rain barrels save stormwater and reduce pollution from storm water runoff. Rain barrels save water and help reduce pollution and flooding from storm water runoff. Painting these rain barrels make saving water beautiful and fun. Here are some of the pictures of us painting the rain barrels.
But now I know the rain needs to go back down in the ground to feed my garden and the flowers and the trees all around. If we don't find a way to help it stay, it takes the garbage in the street and it washes away. If you want to stop pollution, here is what I say. Get a rain barrel. Get a rain barrel. Get a rain barrel and save up all of that rain. So I set a rain barrel in my yard next to a wall. It catches rain from the roof and it fills up fast and it's 4 feet tall. It has a hose and a faucet spout. It's the best big barrel without a doubt. You can make one too. We can show you what to do. You get a rain barrel. You get a rain barrel. You get a rain barrel. And you save up all of that rain. But
I hope you enjoy part of Frank Panzarella's Rain Barrel song. He wrote it just for Lots of Fish and our Rain Barrel project and art to make music, art, and dance around water, clean water and water and saving water. So it's really fun that artists and musicians and dancers are really interested in helping us make learning about water and reducing water pollution much more fun. And I hope you agree. You could see the long version of that song on our YouTube channel. Lots of Fish works with schools to paint storm drains, banners, and crosswalks too, and that artfully connect our waterways and help calm traffic around schools. And what's a crosswalk, you might ask? Maybe you remember. It's those things that go across the street. Would you like to describe them?
Okay, so here are some paintings that we've done to make your school probably more pretty and, for everybody around us to understand like what's going on. So paint on the crosswalk and just for people, just to see what's going on.
Next.
Back what's there too. Here's this painting the other day, another crosswalk at Bishop Woods. So, maybe next time we'll paint at your school. Here's some more paintings of us, some more pictures of us painting. It was a good experience for all of us, I would say. Lots of Fish also collaborates with water conservation organizations to provide water lessons online. So not only are we painting, we're also learning too, but it's still fun.
That's you in that picture. So Lots of Fish is diving into the world of GIS mapping. That's the same thing that you use, that Google uses when you want to find a store or someplace and you want to drive there and get directions. So we're using it to map artwork on rain barrels, storm drains, and murals, and also with community gardens, bioswales, which you can learn about too, which are another way to filter water before so it doesn't get into our rivers polluted. So we are working in New Haven right now, but we work in other locations too around the state of Connecticut and beyond. So we have Lots of Fish GIS Kids lesson and one for teens as well. And this is like a little snippet of the map. And when you go to it, you can click on the different fishes and see storm drains, and then you can see where the water goes to too. So it'll show you what drain, that artwork, that water goes to which river. Like in this one, it goes to the Mill River. Would you like to do the Teen Youth?
Lots of Fish works with youth to bring art to the street. Summer youth employment gives teens valuable job experience. Lots of Fish teams with other organizations to create public awareness art.
My name is Trinity Ford, and I am a summer youth employee for Lots of Fish.
Hi, I'm Jordan Wabahati, and I'm working with Lots of Fish.
My name is Ava Weil. I am a summer youth employee for Lots of Fish. My name is Jahira Jaxawanga, and I work for Lots of Fish.
My name is Chris, and I work at Lots of Fish as a youth employee.
What about Lots of Fish intrigued you?
Basically, we try to spread awareness about the environment and how it needs our help.
The pay and how they paid kids as young as freshmen.
What interested me the most about Lots of Fish was the fact that the artwork was all around water and bringing awareness to water pollution. Really just interested, especially since I go to art school, it was a perfect fit for me as well.
What is something you learned about water?
One thing I learned about water is that it takes 30 gallons of water to make 1 cup of coffee.
I learned how much waste goes in the storm drains and how much water we use per day.
They learned at one point that the average American uses 1,000 gallons of water every day.
Something I learned was that we can use rain barrels to collect rainwater, and it also helps controlling floods in the areas.
What was your favorite project this summer?
My favorite project was painting the storm drains.
Probably the rain barrels and painting the storm drains.
Well, me painted the sunflowers.
My favorite projects were the rain barrels. My favorite part for working for Lots of Fish was painting the storm drains and helping the community.
What is one skill you would take away with you after this summer?
I would become a better painter because I didn't know how to paint before. So.
Patience and work experience.
Leadership and team working skills. You know, we're working everyone around me. It's building team bonding and being a team player.
Teamwork and lots of patience.
Hi, my name is
How can you help us?
One way you could design a storm drain, or you could design a rain barrel, and then your art will become public art for everyone else to see. You just download these forms, color in your picture, and send it back to us. Ask your school or town to adopt a Lots of Fish program, or you could even volunteer with us this summer or next school year. Thank you for swimming with us. Learn more at our website.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen, Joanne, Jordan, Jahira, Trinity. This is awesome to learn about the work that you're doing. I think our friends over at Lots of Fish had planned a little dance party for us. So maybe while they're getting ready, we can do an art project that everyone can participate in right from where you are. So if you were able to get something to draw with and something to draw on, one of our friends from Lots of Fish over in California sent us a really cool video on a step-by-step guide on how to draw an anadromous sea lamprey, Miss Kathy's most favorite migratory fish. So we're gonna send out a link after the show today on how you can access the full video, but for now, everybody get your pen and paper ready and we'll get to drawing.
All right, so today we are going to be drawing our native migratory fish species, and this one is the Sea Lamprey. All right, let's get started. So you're going to start off by drawing a tip here, and we're going to draw kind of like a flowing body, but try and leave a gap right here as you're drawing the line. So we're going to have kind of a big swish right here, and we're going to connect it on the other side. So we're kind of making the body right now, like that. Okay, and now we're going to draw the mouth of the lamprey, like that. So you can see it's kind of looking like a weird slug right now. So a lamprey, think of it kind of like the body of an eel. All right, we're going to continue with the details on the mouth here. We're just going to draw a really wiggly circle. inside of the marks that we made here. And then one more straight circle along the inside. And we're going to line this circle with the teeth. So you're going to have teeth coming out around the entire circle, like this. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and add some details on its tail here. So you're going to start off by drawing from the tip of the tail here. And we're kind of going to do what looks kind of, if you were to draw a flame on a birthday cake. Okay? But instead of connecting it, we're going to keep it going down the train and then just connect it at the bottom here. Okay? And we're going to do another line here, keep it a little squiggly. And now that's what this gap is for. We're going to fill in the gap like that. So this kind of gives a motion to the tail, and you can kind of see the way the fin goes around. Okay, and now we're going to do a little bit of detail. So starting over here, we're going to make some squiggles going all down the body. So it's this line here that just runs all the way down the body. And we're going to go ahead and draw its eye. You can do a little shine right there.
Sure.
We can go ahead and color this part in to add a little bit more detail. Okay, and now we're going to make some gill holes. So just half U's with little circles inside them and a circle at the end. And then you can go ahead and kind of shade the upper part of the circle there. Okay. And we'll add just a little bit more detail to the area around the mouth here, so it kind of looks like it connects around. Okay, and there you have it. This is your sea lamprey.
How did everybody do? What a neat friend to be able to take home with you after this. So it looks like we have our friends from Lots of Fish back. And what we might do is just send out a cool video of the dance that they came up with just for this after the show. So get ready for a dance break later on. We'll send it in an email in the one that you gave us when you registered. But I think that's all we have time for today, my friends. I really hope that you enjoyed learning about the story of migration and all of the fish that we live so close to. But before we say goodbye, for now, I just wanted to show you a few things that each and every one of us can do from home to help keep our fishy friends safe and to keep our local rivers a nice place for them to come back to. So we can all be river keepers from where we are. Think about the trash that you use at home. Is there anything that you're throwing away that could be recycled or maybe reused? We want to make sure that we're only throwing away actual trash and that the trash that we're throwing away goes where it should go, not in the street and not in the rivers. Are there any ways that you can save water from home? Maybe turning off the faucet when you brush your teeth. And if you have a pet and that pet poops outside, can you scoop up that poop so it doesn't turn into some stormwater pollution? These are all things we can all do. Another thing, if you're safely able to do so, is to visit a Fishway, if you can get to one, or maybe consult some cool online resources to learn more about migratory fish. We're going to email some of those out to you after the show, but you can always check both the CRC and the Lots of Fish websites for a lot of really great information all about fish. Another thing you can do is just to tell your friends about everything that you learned. The more fish friends we have on the ground, the safer place our rivers are going to be for everybody. So it looks like our friends from Lots of Fish are back and they're ready to dance. So over to you. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Great moves.
Woo! That was a phenomenal presentation.